and close as the cat-like footsteps padded away. As noiselessly as he could, George snuck back up the stairs to look out of the window into the garden. By the light of his old friend, the moon, George saw the long shadow creep down to the end of the yard, where it seemed to float over the back fence and disappear. George's blood was pumping so hard in his ears that he felt dizzy. He ran into his parents' bedroom and shook his dad awake. "Rump!" his dad snorted, turning over. "Dad!" hissed George urgently. "Dad, wake up!" Grump. Terence was talking in his sleep. "Ban the bomb! Save the whale! Meat is murder!" George shook him again. Ban the whale! Murder the bomb! Save the meat! Terence carried on sleep-talking while beside him, Daisy was snoring softly, her head underneath the pillow. Finally, he woke up. "George, is it the babies?" Clarence groaned. "Do they need feeding again?" "Dad, I saw someone," George told him. "There was someone in the house. I saw them climbed over the fence at the end of the yard." Terence grunted unhappily but got heavily to his feet. "Good luck finding anything to steal in this place," he muttered to himself. "Good luck finding anything at all." But he went downstairs to check, coming back with a serious but very sleepy face. "The back door was open," he said to George. "I've locked it now. It was probably just a cat, you know. Go back to sleep now, before the babies." At that moment, they both heard a wail from one of the crabs. "Oh, no," groaned Terence. "There goes one." Another baby's wail joined in. "And there goes the another. Back to bed, George. George, see you in the morning." Next day at school, George has were pounding. He slumped over his desk, hardly able to keep his eyes open. His dad had decided not to report anything to the police. Nothing had been stolen, and anyway, Terence was sure that it was some kind of animal, probably a cat, that has nosed its way in the kitchen in search of food. George didn't agree. Footsteps he heard were too heavy to belong to a cat, unless it was the size of a leopard. It was much more likely that it had been huge yawn. It was exhausting trying to work all this huge yawn this out. "Are we giving you off?" said George's new history teacher impudently. "No, sir," said George. "Then kindly get out your task book and turn to page 34. George fumbled in his bag and found the book. He opened it, and the page he had marked to read for homework the evening before, but in all the excitement of Eric's talk, completely forgotten about. Someone else, however, had got there before him. Tucked into the very page was a note, folded in half and with his name written on it is a familiar old flesh joined. Calling the script hurt sinking. George unfolded the piece of paper and read. George Oh, I can't read this because it's so strange. Sorry. George felt a chill creep down his spine. His bag had been downstairs the night before. He left it on the table in the living room. That, that mean the shadow he had seen and the footsteps he had heard must have belonged to none other than Dr. Riffer, Eric's old enemy. Why visit me? Thought Eric and George and Homer. Why not visit Eric? As soon he asked himself the question, he knew the answer. Eric wasn't there. By last night, he'd already gone, taking Cosmos with him. And Pookie, the nano supercomputer that strange Dr. River might have expected to find at Eric's, had been upstairs in house. George's house, where River hadn't dared venture. If he had intended to visit Eric, we would have already been too late to find him. So he came looking for George instead. If River was griffing around in the dead of night, then he must have something very important to tell him. George knew he needed to find Eric River and ask him what was going on, but could he trust him? Any George knew would say, "No way!" River had got them into deep cosmic trouble twice before, but he had turned out okay in the end. He'd saved all their lives when they had got stuck on the distant moon with no way back. And once they'd returned to planet Earth, River had sworn to put his dark past behind him. He wanted to be friends with Eric, he said. He wanted to work as a real scientist again, and not live in the shadow any longer. Judging by the note that George had found in his textbook, it looked as though River had information that would help Eric. George had 1,000 questions running through his head. The first of which was now on would he never find River? If I was a crazy ex-scientist, where would I be? He thought to himself. At least he meant to think it to himself, but it soon became apparent that he'd said it out loud. I don't know where a scientist scientist might be, replied his teacher mildly. But I saw George Grimby. I would be on page 34 tonight right now, and about to give my teacher the answer to the question right on the board. The rest of the class teetered. Sorry, sir, said George. And for the next 30 minutes, he tried to make his brain return to 1066 and all that, instead of focusing on the evil at work in the universe. But he found it almost impossible. One thought kept flashing through his mind, as clearly as if Cosmos had shouted in huge red capital letters, "Eric is in danger."